Welcome to another round of Boardroom or Miro Board. Today we talk retrospectives with Agile coach Maria. Let's go. First question. You've spent 2 hours in a team retro, but the only input you've heard is Dave's. Boardroom or Miro Board?
Boardroom. In Miro, Dave can't hog the space because everyone can add thoughts anonymously, online at the same time.
Correct. Next, you need the team to act on feedback fast. So you turn all those retro notes into Jira tasks.
Miro all the way. And I can assign those tasks to teammates.
You're nailing this. Now, you see hundreds of sticky notes from the retro. A real mess. But you organize them into 5 themes in just seconds.
Miro, I basically get back an entire hour when I use its AI tools for clustering.
And she's done it.
For a limited time, visit Miro.com/retro now for a free business plan trial to unlock advanced retro tools like private mode, voting, and two-way Jira syncing. That's Miro.com/retro now.
America's favorite place to watch football is Stadium Swim. Located at the Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Catch all the biggest games at a viewing experience built for sports fans. Chill in one of our 6 pools on 3 different levels for a perfect view of our massive screen. Touchdown! Plenty of seating options from cozy day beds to private, temperature-controlled cabanas. Stadium Swim. Book your spot today at circalasvegas.com.
Hello and welcome to Imp's WWE Adventures podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. You can help the network out by leaving us a 5-star review, give a donation directly through Red Circle, and become one of the amazing community by joining the Social Suplex Discord. Link is in the description. Listen to the other top-notch shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network, One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong Style, All Things Elite, Wrestling Art of Chris Things, Trish and Sarah, Tunnel Talk, and the AEW Match Guide, which will be properly returning soon. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and this is your quick look back at the WWE week that was. 30 minutes of a slightly drunk British guy who's drank a little too many ciders after the England game went really, really well against Denmark. They were awful. Awful, so tense. But before all of that kicked off, we had Clash at the Castle in Glasgow, Scotland, and we had Monday Night Raw where everybody died. the jokey spoiler thing is like, oh, don't spoil it for me, don't tell me anything that happens. Like, oh well, they all died. Well, there we are from Monday Night Raw. So before everybody died, before the football happened and everything, we had seen Scotland lose. It was live from Glasgow, Scotland, less than 24 hours after Germany battered the Tartan army with the biggest opening game defeat in tournament history. Sorry to the Scottish listeners that I know are here. On the back of that, what did WWE offer them to cheer the Scots up? What did they offer them? Did they take them out for a drink like the Germans did? The Germans knew how to take care of them. So what did the Americans offer them? What did WWE give the Scots to cheer them up? Let's find out.
And now Priest looking for south of heaven. McIntyre turns it around. McIntyre Claymore! But there's no official. The official Orango is down. McIntyre would have won the championship right there, but there's no official. And here comes another official. We got an official on the way.
Yeah. I can't repeat the chants that was doing that show. I can't repeat those. Like, my God. So in the fate, I said this time last week that give Scotland a win or something, just because they would have watched their team get battered. They can't go out again and just watch all of their favourites lose for the second night in a row. That would just be so defeating. So they gave them a win. So you know what? Kudos to them. What I was saying was they need at least one win. They gave them one win. And as soon as the women, as soon as Alba Fire and Isla Dawn lifted those Women Tag Team Championships, immediately, so my low percentage chance of Drew McIntyre winning has now become 0. He's definitely not winning. They gave the crowd their win, in quotation marks, so that they wouldn't be as unhappy when Drew McIntyre gets screwed out in the main event. Fair to say, if you've seen the chants on social media, they're angry enough that the language they're using, I cannot repeat. So, oh dear. But let's actually go through the main event. Go through it and get to why the reaction was what it was. For the World Heavyweight Championship, Judgment Day banned from ringside, so it was just Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre. No interference confirmed. Drew McIntyre getting the full bagpipes entrance for the hometown man, a proper home support as WWE used their sponsored decibel counter thing to let us know just how loud the OVO were for Drew. Their chants for him so loud they even drowned out Priest's music during the champion's entrance. Like, wow, my God. Hyped from the get-go, big tope over the top in the first minute. Damien's job to slow things down whilst Drew snapped back with a quick and powerful pace. Priest mucking up his tope step up. So this was the big thing. This was the big moment that everyone else was talking about. Getting his right foot caught in the ropes and dangling upside down. He was going for it where he steps onto the top rope. They normally would just tope to the outside, flying over the top and caught whatever. But this time in the step up, I don't know if it was launching off foot or if it was his foot on the ropes, just wobbled or whatever. But yeah, he just kind of like slipped forward a bit and he got the Andre spot, but upside down. With his leg. What's the Andre spot? I just realised that's an old reference. Where if you watch any of the wrestling from the 80s, where it's Andre the Giant in WWF, he's a lot older, he's right at the end of his career, but he would get into the ring and be like, oh my God, I'm going to see Andre the Giant, and he would basically just lean against the ropes, get his arms trapped in the rope so he can't move, and he would just be stuck there. That's the Andre spot. He would get in, slowly lumber about, slowly fall into that spot, and just remain there. Pay me. That man knew. That man knew. But yes, it was one of those slightly worrying moments where it looked like it'd gone wrong to a level of, oh God, he could have genuinely broken his leg with that. It was that bad of a dangle upside down on twist and everything. Drew McIntyre improvised incredibly. Then in the match itself, Damian Priest incorporated it really well. It wasn't just like in terms of, my knee. That was criticised Seth Rollins' matches for in the past. But it was more other things, like the way he would strike Drew would be with a lot more of his upper body just because he didn't have the legs base of him and he is a leg striking guy. So whenever he would strike with his legs, it was closer to what I call the New Japan type of thing where you're fighting through the pain level of attack rather than just hit a move, then go, my knee. So it was a lot better than that. It was more to do with that. It's also why the bad faith takes of the style of New Japan wrestling being bad actually is just really just a bad faith take. It's like, yeah, you kind of saw it with David Priest there. It's just a way to tell a story. You're being weird. And I shouldn't tell the internet to stop being weird. You're in the UK, so of course Damian Priest got the most sarcastic when he's freed. Of course he did. Big clubber move, pause. Big clubber move, pause. As they wisely give Priest time between spots to make sure his foot's all right. Make sure we can actually, continue the match. Luckily for them, the crowd was so white hot that they used those beats to amp themselves up into a sing-song. Striking exchange with Priest answering with kicks, Drew mixing up his chops, Glaswegian kisses, brawling out to ringside for our lovely jubbly claymore through the barricade. Good luck hearing the ring count over that crowd for that spot. My God, they were loud. Using the champion's hurt ankle really smartly as he's unable to put his full weight into the pin after his South of Heaven claymore counter. Priest the one in control, but damaged, entering into one final flow. Instantly displayed with, my knee, after the head scissors off Brett's rope, instead set up a claymore. The official knocked down and into the closing angle we flow. The second attempt at the claymore nailed, but there's no referee. One charges down. Oh, the referee's come out. It's all right. He's come on down with the camera behind him, sliding into the ring, but stops at 2. Yes, I recognise that grey in the hair anywhere. Oh, that's the referee wearing long sleeves. He's trying to hide his tattoos. It's because it's CM Punk. Of course it's CM Punk. Kicking Drew the dick, F.U. Punk, South of Heaven, 1, 2, 3. Mr. Chicago celebrating with seemingly the crowd was just happy to see the wrestler person. For me, that is the downfall of this entire thing, is you just watch the reaction of the crowd, or it wasn't a heated way to do it. And the commentary afterwards is the way that they were selling it. The commentary trying to sell it as Punk has just done this thing, and especially with Wade Barrett, right, he was selling it as like Punk is now the most evil, worst person in the world. Going on at Triple H afterwards, I mean, I love the dedication, but in the post-show, whatever it was, where Wade Barrett was just going on, Triple H is saying he's lost respect because he's let CM Punk do this, and da-da-da-da. The way it was done in the show, it didn't really have that final oomph. It took the air out of the crowd, and for me, that wasn't the sign of the bad thing. For me, the sign of the bad thing was the opposite reactions, where it was just the people on the guardrails just being like, hey, it's CM Punk, with a little clappy cheer. Punk being like, oh, I thought I was going to get jumped, and or it wouldn't be safe. Instead, the crowd are just being like, hey, it's me. My takeaway from that, it was like the least heated way to possibly do this. I did the bad thing, where and I guess like a few others, I saw CM Punk posing in a Celtic shirt, and I thought, oh my God, that is the absolute perfect way to jump Rangers fan Drew McIntyre. Because in Glasgow there are two football teams, Rangers and Celtic. They are not friends. It's called the Old Firm Derby. They are not friendly. Just Google any history between them. They are not on friendly terms. The image in my head of CM Punk wearing a Celtic shirt attacking Rangers fan Drew McIntyre, for me, that was just visually, that would have been such a perfect way to get the crowd heated. For me, them just going with the referee stuff was quite subpar to what the wrestlers themselves had kind of teased on social media, and the way that CM Punk was taunting Drew McIntyre. It's just like, it was actually quite a lame way to do it. This felt quite goofy. I've seen people who liked it, but I don't know if it was for me because I accidentally fan theoried myself into something where I was like, oh, that'd be so good. And what they delivered wasn't better than what I'd created in my head. But I try and avoid that. I try and avoid coming up with the fan theory, just so that never happens. It's happened before with different TV shows and things, so I try and avoid it. The match itself was, I feel like, a decent step up for Damian Priest. Drew McIntyre giving him a good match, and such a heated crowd, my God. I'm not singing crazy about this match, really. I thought the ending, again, kind of lame. The interference with CM Punk, for me, was the way to go, purely because of the other puzzle piece of Gunther. If Gunther isn't King of the Ring, I would have just crowned Drew McIntyre, whatever. They can do him, CM Punk, like, fine, whatever. But because Gunther is King of the Ring, like, he is the guy who's going after the world title. He's already declared that. It's like, well, these are pieces, and when I'm putting the SummerSlam card together, those pieces are already there. I can't move those, so what do? It's like, why can't I Drew McIntyre, CM Punk not happen at SummerSlam? But I feel like that's settled for there. So, unfortunately, Damian Priest is going to have to hold the title. They've given a nice little exciting match with Seth Rollins. That'll be another one where crowd are more invested in the other guy, but it'll be another good showing for Damian Priest. Because my main reason, my critique of him, isn't the in-ring wrestling. It isn't what the performer is doing in that aspect. It's more the material he's both given on the microphone when he's cutting a promo, and the material he's given like storyline-wise for the Judgment Day and things. In his promos, he's given the most generic shit to say. The way that he's directed to deliver it, and the way that he is, the kind of words that he is given to say in his promos, and in terms of the flow momentum and stuff. Technically, sometimes what he's saying is strong enough to get a reaction, but that doesn't mean that it's something that's going to sell me on his character. Like, he's not really given that strong material to work with. It's material that can get a reaction from a live crowd and an internet crowd, but it's not material that's going to enhance his character at all. It's not really something that will get me behind him like that, because it's still kind of technically generic that any character could be saying, or any character that is champion could be saying. Whilst the more unique stuff to his character is Judgment Day stuff, but that actively takes away from the championship stuff. So, it's like, basically what, I think I said it before, they just need to build him up before WrestleMania, then all of this stuff, but a lot of this critique I've got would have already been figured out before he becomes champion, so that the championship reign can be stronger, instead of using the time during the championship reign to try and get the character established and over, when could have done that beforehand. He didn't need to wait. Anyway, let's get on to the rest of the show. The I Quit match, the WWE Undisputed Championship, Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles, opened the show. Scotland allowed for Cody Rhodes, singing his theme, then his name and all. AJ Styles, what a wanker. Immediately, great start to the night with a chance. The referee simply there to hold the microphone, ask if the lads want to quit yet, asking after Cody whipped AJ into the ringside trolley of Prime bottles, Styles telling him, nah, it's alright, all the bottles were sealed. I'm okay. Just like in Leon, opening this European special with a walking brawly brawl to let the crowd enjoy their initial singing. A lovely spot upping the ante as the two suplex spilled out to the outside, amping up to announce table adjacent clobberings, brainbuster onto the announce table, AJ shouting at Cody's mother so Cody can get that juice off camera. We've got a bleeder. We haven't. We've got the movie blood splatter pack. It's like, they didn't even let Cody. He took a brainbuster onto the announce table. It looked brutal. It looked great. Kudos to both guys. And they didn't even let him. Cue plenty of head offense from Mr. Phenomenal. Do. Promise myself I wouldn't do that. Lots of opportunity for Cody to shout variations of absolutely not, hell no, into the microphone as he's constantly asked if he's going to quit. Kendo stick whippings, belt whippings, a failed belt bandana thing around the forehead of Cody. Yeah, I don't know what AJ's plan was there. Trying to choke the champion out. Handcuffs out to cuff the hand behind his back for more whippings. Mama Rose slapping AJ 3 times and getting a louder pop after each one. Amazing fuel for this match. That moment hiding from us, Cody moving the handcuffs to the front of his body so he could launch a chair into AJ's face in an amazing, comical, cartoony fashion. Chair into the face, onto the apron and bumping off somehow, crashing through a table to a thunderous pop. It's cartoony, it was silly, and the crowd absolutely loved it. Such a huge cheer for the Crossroads tease. Styles bleeding too as Cody amped up, nailing the finisher. The man feeding off the crowd so well as he got them louder and louder for each one. The third one onto the chair met with "You deserve it" to the villainous AJ, telling us they're also invested in the story they're telling. Reversing what came earlier as Cody handcuffs the man to the ropes. To wallop AJ over and over again to the tune of "F him up, Cody, F him up." AJ's response, "Screw you, Cody Rhodes." It's like, I did like that. Holding the steps overhead was a danger too far for AJ. Cody pausing with the steps overhead and locking eyes with his mum. The confirmation that Styles deserved it, that's all he needed, and hitting him with the steps after the bell anyway. What a heel. What a heel, Cody. But also, it's one of those finishes where, before the match, they were talking about how, can Cody go to that darker side when needed to? Could he actually go there, given that he's been such a pure babyface, kind of? And this was the match showing that he could go there when needed to, which is an important character beat for his championship character, as he kind of builds that. So I feel like it was a note that was needed. But yeah, still kind of a lame finish. Which is like, that's a shame where it's the 2 biggest men's matches on this card, and both of them have kind of lame finishes. But at least with this one, it worked really well for the character that we're getting. Technically, I didn't really talk about Drew McIntyre, the effects it has on his character enough. What we see on Monday Night Raw kind of feeds into that really well. Technically, in that one, everything there is perfect for the beats that need to move forward. It's just the way I thought they did it. It was one of the more lame ways to do the same beat, where there's quite a few different ways you can get creative with it. Whilst with this one, I don't know how you do this in the current Triple H world where it would be so grounded. It's the same issues I kind of maybe got with the Wyatt Sicks when we get to it. But it is that thing where, how do you amp it up to a point in this Triple H kind of world, the way you're booking it, where you don't go so over the top in a certain way, you kind of always keep it more orientated in the actual context of the wrestling in the ring rather than the soap opera or whatever nonsense around it. That said, he then does hit him afterwards. Maybe that talks me out of it. The fact that he actually did hit him afterwards. As Cody is a heel. It's like, damn it, no, he wasn't teasing it and then was like, no, I can't do it, I'm the good guy. He was like, no, I'm going to whack you with him. So I did like that. Anyway, I feel like it's a note for the character of Cody going forward. The Women's Tag Team Championship, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus Starks and Baszler versus hometown team Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Scotland, fast-paced little tag fun. My personal favourite variation with 3 in the ring at the same time, tagging out to your partner. They always have such fun flows when they do it like this. Jade Cargill with a charging power that the 2 challengers working together couldn't take down. Belair and Cargill showing off their strength so impressively that the 2 sets of challengers both agreed to start working together. A 4 versus 2 flow until the baddies started fighting each other immediately after taking the champions down. Like, hey, it let the Scottish cheer for their hometown lasses. So at least there's that. Top right corner, deadly. Isla hurting her elbow. Stark shouting, ow, after bumping off to her back. Bianca landing a tad high onto her neck. Like, maybe just stay out of the corner. Maybe just do stuff somewhere else. Turns out it wasn't just that. Jade slipping as she launched over the top rope for her hot tag. Earlier in the night, as well as AJ Styles came out at the start of the show, referee, I've forgotten his WWE name, but his TNA name was Rudy Charles. He just shows him that the ropes are a little bit loose. All amping up to the champions finally being able to nail their finishing wheelbarrow feet push German suplex finisher thing, only for Isla Dawn to snap in with a German of her own to Jade and steal her pin. The Scottish crowd going wild, whilst I go, yes, Drew's definitely not winning. This was their win of the night. The intrigue then goes to SmackDown with what's going to happen with Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. They could easily just win it, so that they gave a win here as well. I was saying give them a win, and to give Kaylee Ray the win, given what she's been through, to give her a performance like that with this as well, to know she was performing on Monday Night Raw the whole time like that as well, was like, it's an awesome emotional moment. The Intercontinental Championship, Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable. This one has been built up for a while. Scotland loves Sami. Who could have seen that coming? Everyone loves Sami, though. Everyone loves Sami. Loud chants for Otis as Gable and Zayn got their boring opening wrestling out of the way. How dare they get that out of their system? The Otis chants reaching such a high teasing pitch with Sammy just standing ringside and looking at the man. Shit, Kurt Angle, you're just a shit. Kurt Angle, amazing chant. He did like that one. Gable creating a weak point in Sammy's left arm, properly zoning in during the second half. The fans really buying into the in-ring flow, and our goodies fight backs during the final third. Properly into it with no jokey chant anymore. Not even beloved Cody got that. Not even there. A pure wrestling match for the majority of it too. No shenanigans or baddie cheating for the longest part. Gable grabbing the IC title eventually, handing it to Maxine instead of bringing it into the ring. Practically immediately distracting the ref for her to wallop the opponent. But she can't do it. Dupree may be wearing a fluffy black hat, but she's not a baddie. She's not a bad girl. She can't do it. Leading to one great fake-out ending. Sammy charging in with a hula kick. Gable dodging with Zayn only just stopping in time to not catch the lady. Chaos Theory rolled in 1-2, kick out at 2.9. Really well done. Alpha Academy troubles at ringside with Otis stepping to Gable to stop him berating Maxine. Kicking us into one hell of a gear with Sammy topes, Gable moonsault and one hell of an amping up crowd. Gable so focused on Zayn at ringside, goes right into Maxine's injured leg after a Canadian ankle lock reversal. That's what gets Otis to properly get angry as abusive coach. Instead of attacking Sammy, carrying Dupree down the ramp, Gable ogling and just ball-watching as Zayn slips through the defence with the haluva kick. That whole closing 5 minutes or so had the crowd so loud, popping for every beat. Like, unsurprising that these two had such a strong wrestling match. Gable and Sami Zayn, that's crazy. When given a strong story too, that's great. The crowd was super invested in, my God. The crowd was so invested into everything to do with this. They're so into Otis. Sami Zayn obviously incredibly over. A strong Intercontinental Champion for the summer as well. So applause all around. The WWE Women's Championship, Bayley versus Piper Niven. It's Bayley's birthday! But this was Piper's crowd, so no one gives a shit. In Scotland. Samantha Irving giving her a whole Scottish accent announcer treatment too. Chelsea Green getting way too involved way too early. Like, wait till the referee's a bit more tired, Chelsea. Like, when he's countered a load of pinfalls or something and his arm's just a bit more tired. Commentary amping that Bayley's switching up her offense to wrestle a higher, flying, quicker style against the much stronger and bigger Scottish lass. Bayley to belly off the top rope, the final act launcher. Chelsea Green back out in an amazing little bit in a luchador mask, whilst elsewhere wearing the exact same kilt outfit she wore the first time, just put a mask on. Distracting the ref enough for Bayley's cover to be kicked out of. Distracting Bayley enough for Piper to counter with an awesome driver. Niven just too strong for the rose plant. The sound mixed and ready to turn down any boos as Bayley countered the big lass with a crucifix driver, send the Scot crashing backwards and then pin for the win. Piper getting her cheers and applause from the crowd afterwards though, in the expected result but also necessary beat as Bayley builds up to Nia Jax at SummerSlam. Yeah, overall Clash at the Castle was a decent show. But I wouldn't go above that. I feel like their two big matches have both had pretty lame endings, even if the journey was... It was an entertaining journey. We went places. We didn't reach new heights. We forged new partnerships. It was a good time. That's why I say decent. Is that it somewhat feels like a B show in terms of like the things that are actually going to change and the beats are actually going to happen are going to be kind of minor. Going to be useful. If you don't see these shows, you're not going to really lose anything. That said, it was a pretty big moment for the Drew McIntyre character and for the Art for CM Punk, where this is the moment, this is the instigating moment which sends us towards SummerSlam properly. No, actually, the instigating moment was WrestleMania. But this is the moment that really sends us directly to SummerSlam for the match. I feel like in that case, that every one of those that was on this show was done well. Like every single moment that was where, okay, this is the thing that then triggers the next thing. It's the same with Chad Gable and Otis. Like this was the night which then sends us towards that. But Drew McIntyre was never winning. Piper Niven was never winning. The tickets were extortionate. I don't blame some Scottish people if they thought they were going to see Drew McIntyre win, given like, oh, why did they price the tickets so high if they're not going to give us the thing? Just watch the show. You probably would have seen they're not going to give you the thing. But oh well. So yeah, great show, unless you're Scottish. Then you got to watch your people all lose again. And they were not chanting happy things afterwards. But anyway, that is the end of that Clash of the Castle. Well, Drew McIntyre losing again. So let's jump on over to Monday Night Raw, the show after Scotland, the debut of the Spooky Spook. It's time for Monday Night Raw. The WWE logo Marvel title card immediately glitching. We have to wait all the way to the end of the show. Jey Uso celebrating in the crowd after winning and qualifying for Money in the Bank, which was a fun match if not one where you already knew the winner. The lights going out like The Fiend. Piano like the last version of Bray, just a single note playing. Nikki Cross creeping through the door to the smoke-covered lantern in full Sister Abigail with her new mask, pointing the camera backstage to beaten up security. There's smoke everywhere. It's arguably the only supernatural element of this, is that there's smoke everywhere. Gorilla all beaten up and smoky. A nice touch earlier was they followed Drew McIntyre, who was all angry and pissed after what happened with his segment. We stayed with him and followed him through Gorilla and then through backstage. A really nice little touch, because then later on, once we're seeing them all beaten up backstage, we've already seen what Gorilla should look like because we went through there with Drew McIntyre, who led us down the exact same pathway. A nice little touch so that you know what Gorilla's meant to look like, so it's a bigger deal when we've taken down everybody's beaten up. Rabbit masks, beards and tattoos, a lad in Gorilla beaten up with blood on the wall. What did he do? What did he do? Different guys all beaten up, extras, NXT crew, whatever. However, the camera does focus on Gable with a wound to the head. But everybody's like, oh, he's been capped. He's just been shot in the head. It's like, oh, what a crap week he's had. Loses everything. Loses the Intercontinental Championship match, loses his Alpha Academy family, loses his match against Braun Strowman, and then now loses his Money in the Bank slot because he's dead. It's like, oh, man. Smoke everywhere. Bo Dallas in full Uncle Howdy in the corridor. The live crowd eating this all up. Whilst I know Rich Latter is laughing. he's either laughing or he's just nothing it. Like, what is this? Going full spooky spook. Sean Rossap had reported over the weekend that this stable would be more grounded and less supernatural. And, well, I guess starting out with Horror House Murder is less supernatural, but I wouldn't say it's grounded. That technically it is more grounded and less supernatural than, teleportation and fire and superpowers and demonic entities. Like, you know what? Technically it is definitely less supernatural, but I don't know if I'd call this grounded. You've got to. Really, the groundedness of it is sold of what happens next. If people on SmackDown just put out a show and don't show any fear of they're not employed to Monday Night Raw, so they could just turn up here. The graphics have also been shown on SmackDown. No one on SmackDown isn't particularly worried or really caring or whatever. That doesn't really help sell it. Then if you go to Monday Night Raw and just put on a show and it doesn't even open with anything regarding it, it's just like an official announcement being like, well, Gable's been taken out of the match because he's dead. And just move on with the show. And the show must roll on. Like, no, wait a minute. Can we just stay for a second? I know you've got Money in the Bank really close and you really need to build it up and put people into the match. However, it was your choice to end the show with a bunch of murders. So you need to at least tell us what's happening. I know this stuff isn't everybody's cup of tea. However, it's one where I'm being like, it's night one. The groundedness of it is sold in the reaction. This obviously seems super wacky and out there. However, it's not supernatural entities, demonic powers, fire, teleportation. Like it's none of that. So let's see actually what it is first. Of course, the absolute dumbest take off this was, I can't remember who it was, but somebody did respond where he was just saying, like, well, we'll see what it's ultimately like when it gets to the wrestling, because that's the part with the most worry. And somebody just responded being like, why do they ever need to wrestle? It's like, in a wrestling company. That's the entire point. It's to say you on the wrestling bit. These are wrestling characters. They're going to wrestle. What does that take? We'll see what happens when the bell rings. What happens when the pops stop? Anyways, move on to the rest of the show. The Money in the Bank qualifier main event. Jey Uso versus Rey Mysterio versus Finn Balor. Such a fast triple threat. Not long to work with because they had the big ending to do, so flowing and flying from the get-go. Unsurprising that Finn and Rey were great in taking their turns to inject the pace. Judgment Day stopping Rey's win, and Braun Strowman stopping them. Finn Balor flew with the coup de grace, but Jey Uso immediately splashed onto him. 1, 2, 3. The other Money in the Bank qualifier for the night was Zelina Vega versus Io Sky versus Kiana James. Time to say it again. Everyone looks great coming out of a match with Io. Io, the one getting all the reactions as the only character the audience has really been told to be invested in. Some great little spots though, like a 619 to Io's legs to take her off of Brett's rope. Liv Morgan distracting Vega, Vega distracting James and Io, kneeling Alas in the back of the head, moonsault for the win as WWE correctly books Io in Money in the Bank. Seth Rollins' surprise return, completely unannounced, nobody knew this was going to happen, to a great reaction to. He's back for one reason, he's going to go into the Money in the Bank. He got into this ring to be the greatest, very best of all time. I didn't misspeak, that's the words that he said. And no, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't misspeak either, and that's what was scripted for him. Directing his sights at Money in the Bank and getting back that World Championship when out comes Damian Priest. For the promo between them for me, pretty generic. Unfortunately, par for the course with Priest's reign. Drawing on their similarities, both from successful stables, both cashing Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, but Damien hasn't grown the balls to step out of Judgment Day's shadow. Rollins was hinting at entering the Money in the Bank ladder match, but he got to the champion enough for the man to challenge him to make a statement. The Judgment Day shadow being one of my big critiques for Damien's reign, so nice to see that directly addressed as a key point. Feels like a mini feud with Seth Rollins, so don't have long to build it up. That being almost like the key point of the reign, is you've not really stepped out of the shadow. You don't really feel like that high prestige of a champion. And that's almost the point that Seth Rollins is making with his challenge for the next couple of weeks. There's a direct character thing that's being addressed, and as a character you can then tackle it. And of course, for me, it's all meaning that it's a bigger deal when Gunter beats him. That feels like where it's going. Angry Drew, all pouty and grumpy. It was hero for a night in Scotland, but now vindicated in his obsession with CM Punk. Completely unable to see how he'd have been champion already if it wasn't for his inability to just let things drop. Reaching his breaking point and just saying, screw this company, I quit, and walking backstage. A nice little production point as well, which I talked about earlier, where he was talking to Adam Pearce and Triple H and Gorilla, and this all happened after the break as well, so we've seen him storm out, and then after the break we see this, like it's been captured backstage footage. No production lighting either. It's like they literally just put a camera there, started filming them, no lighting of anything. Really make it feel like we're getting a snippet of backstage. It then also gives us a view of backstage when it was looking normal. The Alpha Academy, Otis steps up, kind of. I'm not as down on this as other people are. I don't know if the phrase I'd use is purposely downplayed or whatnot, but because they decided to do the Gable head wound stuff later in the show, kind of what makes it somewhat strange that they built up this for so long and then it's such a low-key kind of in the wrestling world. This was more of a much more realistic way of stepping away from somebody than it was a wrestling way of stepping up from somebody. Like, you expect a huge blow-off, like a huge explosion of this thing that's been building up for ages, because then you can transfer that energy onto Otis. But this was all kind of done backstage, and he does step away, the crowd are for it. But it's weird that they didn't do like the huge explosive passing of heat onto Otis in such a way of like, this is the moment where he steps up and he gains all this momentum. Like, that's kind of gone, and now Gable's been, Wyatt Sicks, so who knows. But initially this felt like, I was watching this segment being like, Gable is now a strong enough character to spread his wings outside of a Sami Zayn feud to help prop him up. Like, hooray! The man's finally an established act. Then he immediately gets cut. P.S. telling Gable he has to work his way back up the line. Cocky Gable asking for a match against anyone. Yeah. Chad Gable versus Braun Strowman. One big SOB, one big sob, a synonym for a massive cry because he reduces his opponents to tears. Is that what we're getting at with Strowman? The big straw man slamming the little man for an Olympic loss. But in this occasion, he's got no one else to blame. Gable, obviously blaming his academy anyway, and going to take it out on Tozawa, throwing away Maxine's crutch, the heel, before slapping Tozawa down. Big Otis finally pushing Gable down. No beating, but he finally pushed away his mentor. Loud Otis chants as the crowd continues to be so invested in this. And later in the show, Otis, Maxine and Tozawa pack their bags and leave Gable in the locker room area. Which is why I feel like I've had a different reaction to everybody else. Because it seems like a load of people felt like, oh, I've been super invested in this thing that's been building, and then there was no in-ring blow-off. Whilst I'm more seeing it as you don't see it done this way. So is this a reaction to seeing something being done where we're not really built to have a reaction to a big major storyline we've been building for ages, have this kind of blow off? Or does that make it bad because it's not done in the ring, instead done in the backstage thing, and does that mean it feels like it's negative? I'm not down as everybody else, because I didn't really feel like it was as strong as a negative as it was a different way of doing something where we're not really conditioned to have a way to respond to this. So you kind of just don't. It's like, oh, that was a low-key way to end all that. So you don't see longer storylines going in that direction. That said, what on earth's going to happen now that the Wyatt Sicks have shot him? Whatever. Some other quick notes as well. I mentioned Chad Gable. What's Sami Zayn up to? Like, he's defeated Chad Gable now. Well, now... Von Breakker, the lad using his brutal beating last week to step up. Sheamus steps up too. The match set for later in the show, giving Breakker his step up to the Intercontinental Gold. Carlito faced Dragon Lee, tying up that loose WrestleMania build thread. Liv Morgan stole Dom's cow vest, so that was a thing throughout the night. Get into that. The Women's Championship's in this. Alba Fire and Ida Dawn backstage accepting Baszler and Stark's challenge. And that was Monday Night Raw. It was a show where it felt like a lot happened, and obviously where I get to that, I'm ending the notes on like the stuff that happened in the middle of the show, but in terms of like how it leaves you, because they started with Seth Rollins into the surprise pop, and they end with the Wyatt Sicks in a built-up thing that's been teased, and finally we're here, and it's something completely different to any form of tone we've been seeing. I'm watching it thinking, how on earth does this fit in with the more grounded WWE? Like I was talking about with the CM Punk thing. Was it CM Punk thing? No, it's the Cody Rhodes thing, sorry. I was talking about the Cody Rhodes with the steps thing, where it's a much more grounded, based in the wrestling within the ring world. How on earth do you do the Wyatt gimmick? What on earth is this? It's one night, and it makes me ask the question, what on earth is this? But I'm not asking it like Rich Ladder is. I'm not saying, what the F is this? Like, what the fuck is this? I'm not doing that. It's more a thing of, like, no, seriously, I want them to answer the question in terms of like, what they show me on the show. I want them to sell it me. I want this to succeed. I want it to be good. It's just, I've seen the creative under one way, and it wasn't great. Apparently this was according to their sister, this was a Bray and Bo idea, and they kind of found a way to make it a huge tribute to Bray. So it's like, it's got a different edge on it, where it was their creation, and they're finding a different way to do it. I've not even mentioned the people who are playing them. We've got Joe Gacy. Well, I've done it first. Joe Gacy, Nikki Cross, obviously Bo Dallas, Dexter Lumis, and Eric Rowan making his return under the rabbit mask. They're your creepy people. I'm interested to see how it's done in this more grounded environment. I want it to go well. But anyway, with that I say thank you for listening, liking, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciate it and never take it for granted. I'll be back this time next week to talk about SmackDown and Monday Night Raw. How on earth did they ground the Bloodhouse murder? So with that, I'll bid you adieu. Adios.